right, Deputy Clerk Schultheis, would you read the preamble for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the applicable statutes of the State of Illinois and the ordinances of the City of Prospect Heights, notice is hereby given that the City Council regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Prospect Heights is being held on Monday, October 24th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. in person at City Council Chambers, Prospect Heights City Hall, 8 North Elmhurst Road, Prospect Heights, Illinois, and simulcast for viewing on Zoom. Acting Mayor Matthew Dolick presiding. This meeting will be broadcast live on the following cable channels: Comcast and WOW Channel 17, AT&T UVerse Channel 99. It will also be recorded and televised on Comcast and WOW Channel 17, AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Attendees who wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be provided an opportunity during the meeting. There's a 5-minute time limit for speakers.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regular City Council meeting on today, Monday, October 24th, 2022 at 6:33 p.m. in the council chambers of Prospect Heights City Hall, located at 8 North Elmhurst Road in Prospect Heights. Madam Clerk, if you are with us, could we have a roll call, please, to establish a quorum?
Yes, good evening, Mayor. Alderman Cameron,
Here.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Here.
Alderman Dash,
Here.
Alderman Dolick,
Here?
Alderman Ludwigson.
Here.
All right, all 5 of us are here. We do have a quorum. Mr. Kearns, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? All right, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the October 10th, 2022 City Council Workshop meeting minutes?
So moved, Morgan Adams. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections? There being none, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Sustained.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Item 4, presentations. Tonight we have with us Director Bill Kearns from the Chicago Executive Airport with their monthly update, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, elected officials, city staff, and citizens of Prospect Heights. I bring you good tidings from the Chicago Executive Airport. We just recently returned from convention, the National Business Aviation Conference, and very exciting things happening around 2 particular new technologies. One is VTOL, the vertical takeoff and landing craft, which are electric battery-powered vehicles can be used for deliveries of people. They're looking at it as a substitution for helicopters for short range, going from an airport to a city center, for example, and that technology. Every year we go, there's new models, and they're closer and closer to getting certified and being ready to be used. The other thing is that sustainable aviation fuel is becoming more and more the norm. There was an announcement, for example, by Honda Jet, which sounds funny, but they do make jets, very good jets, and that their aircraft they've successfully tested running 100% sustainable fuel. This was a ground-based test where previously they were only allowed to go up to 50%. So sustainable fuel is a thing that is coming. Trying to be environmentally aware and friendly is something the aviation industry is very in tune to, okay? So I've got a number of other updates to go through. We have 2 new staff members at the airport. Some of you have met Krista. Krista Coltrane is our new administrative manager, replacing Jennifer Pfeiffer. And Kim Mueller is a new property accountant who has joined us to help help us maintain our new software for all of the different properties and leases and so forth that we have. A few statistical things in September, our customs clearances, our 12-month trailing is 501 clearances. So it really is a situation, we think, where we built a very nice new place for people to come in, clear customs, and our customs clearances have risen dramatically. Certainly the end of COVID has helped that, but we're, you know, at that pace, we're well above what we budgeted for the year to help pay the bills for that new facility. Fuel flowage, 12-month rolling total, 8.4 million gallons, still setting new records constantly, and our 12-month operations fell just slightly under 100,000. It's 98,507 operations in the trailing 12-month period. Right now, our staff, maintenance staff is busy preparing for winter operations. You know, we're kind of being lulled into a false sense of security here, I think, the last week, but they're busy getting plows and blowers ready. We've, our executive team has been meeting with the FAA on a bi-weekly basis to work for a timeline for our next round of the sound attenuation program, which is RSIP. Some of you may have heard that the first pilot program that we did, 10 homes, went very well, but the FAA did say that they were going to take a look at the program, and one of the things that we had to do as part of that is to redo our noise exposure map, and so we're in the process of doing that. The first, as a matter of fact, the first community update meeting is going to be November 15th at 6 p.m. over at the Hilton Hotel on Milwaukee Avenue. Another exciting thing, Hawthorne Aviation has finished the permitting process for their new hangar on Tower Road. They hope to get some of that steel up and so forth before winter comes in, so even in the next month you may see some good progress over there. And that's just west of the newest hangar that they had built last year. There was an interesting statistic that our engineering firm gave us at the meeting last couple weeks ago, I guess it was, that Chicago Executive Airport has received over $74 million from state and federal governments between the period of 2000 and 2022. So in that period, that's the amount of money that the state and feds have poured into making our airport safer and more welcoming to the flying community. So along those lines, at the NBAA convention, our team met with Shaneth Griffith. She's the Associate Administrator of Airports, which is the highest level in the FAA for airport-related items. She spent 45 minutes with us discussing terminal building funding, the RSIP noise attenuation program that, as I mentioned, is in review currently. Also, the block grant relationship between airports and the states. Some of you are aware that we never receive money directly from the federal government. It goes to the state, and then the state distributes that money to us. Occasionally there are delays, and we're just trying to work through ways that can be streamlined better, and I know they had a meeting in Springfield with folks about that also. Another key topic that they talked about was making the general aviation airports a priority in the FAA reauthorizations with a different formula. Currently, we receive $150,000 a year, which is the same amount as all the other GA airports, period. No matter what size, no matter what they do. We're one of the largest GA airports, and we're getting the same amount as, you know, pick a smaller rural airport. We're working with them to try to request $1 million annual entitlement so that it's something more meaningful. Don't get me wrong, we love getting the $150,000, but it isn't nearly enough to do a lot of the projects that we want to do. We have an RFP out, actually for developing land where the 94th Aero Squadron is. If you remember a few months back, you guys approved us going ahead and buying that land from Signature, and we have received a few proposals for that, and there'll be some good things to come soon on that, we hope. All right. Finally, we're currently in an environmental assessment to close runway 624. That, if there are no significant impact shown on that study, we plan to move forward in the spring and summer of 2023 to request closure of runway 624. If we're allowed to close that runway, it will reduce those safety concerns that we had with the hotspots where the runway crosses several taxiways. And it'll also allow land in that area to be redeveloped into facilities that support the aviation ecosystem. So we're excited about that to come. As a matter of fact, a few people approached us while we were there at our booth and just asked about it. The aviation community is very knowledgeable, and they know about these things. So they know of our environmental study and that we're looking to close this runway, and there'll be land available, and these were people looking at development potential for that land. So all exciting things going on, and that's really the only thing I had to report. So if I'll open to any questions.
Any questions for Bill?
No? Hey, Pat. Okay,
All right, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
report. Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
There are no appointments or confirmations. Next, item 6 is public comments on agenda matters. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered, or is there anyone that wishes to speak? There being none, there is no consent agenda this evening, which brings us to old business. Item 8A is a request for a waiver first reading for item O2229, staff memo and ordinance establishing a local motor fuel tax in the city of Prospect Heights, Cook County, Illinois. This is something that was on the agenda at a past meeting and was approved, but it's on here again due to some, I understand, some changes in the language on the part of the state. Joe, or city attorney, would you like to clarify as to why this is?
Just some very minor changes that they requested. We amend the ordinance. The State Department of Revenue, our attorneys have done this before, but apparently the Department of Revenue has made a requirement of certain information on the ordinance. So they sent it back to us and asked that it be amended to include these.
Okay, thank you.
There's no substantive changes.
Right, okay. The first item is just a request for waiver first reading. Could I have a motion?
So moved, Morgan Adams.
Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no discussion on that item, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Ludvixson,
Aye.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And item 8B is the second reading. Staff memo and ordinance establishing a local motor fuel tax in the city of Prospect Heights, Cook County, Illinois. Could I have a motion to approve?
So
moved. Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? There being none, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Dash,
aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Ludvixson.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 9, new business. Item 9A, staff memo and resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with Cook County for the combination of Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering services and award of up to $175,889 in county grants towards preliminary and design engineering costs for the installation of the Camp McDonald Road Sidewalk Project. Joe, would you like to?
Sure,
elaborate on
thank you. Yes, the city applied for Invest in Cook funding, I believe, two to 3 years ago. We were not successful, and that was for preliminary engineering. Through the assistance of Commissioner Scott Britton, however, he followed our application, recognized it was rejected, but made sure that it was within the county budget. So that took care of our preliminary engineering. Then we went around to the second round to make a grant application for also Invest in Cook for design engineering work. And as you're aware, because I think it was last spring, we came back to the council for authorization on that. The county didn't have the money to fund that completely, but they offered to do, I believe it was a 50-50 for design engineering. To make a long story short, preliminary engineering and design engineering for this project from Wheeling Road to the train station, it will cross Camp McDonald. It will cross the Canadian National Track, so there's also additional work involved with the Illinois Commerce Commission as well with the railroad. There's swales and so forth. All total, Phase 1 and Phase 2 engineering is estimated to be $299,000. This agreement that the county offers is that they would pay $175,000, essentially a 60-40 split. Most importantly, for the future for Prospect Heights, it's very difficult for our community to build these on our own. But once we have preliminary design engineering completed, that becomes a prerequisite should we apply for future state and federal funding for it, which so essentially we're trying to go as far as we can in building this sidewalk network, which has been addressed in the comprehensive plan using other governmental assistance.
All right, thank you. Could I first have a motion to approve?
So moved, Morgan Adams.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions regarding this item or any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I had a quick question for
Yes.
Joe.
Go ahead.
In the past, when we've tried to do sidewalks, if we weren't connecting to an existing sidewalk, I'll give you an example. On Rand Road by Tony's, we wanted to put a crosswalk there. And because it didn't go to his sidewalk, we were told we couldn't do it. Are we sure that we're going to be able to build this and use public money for it from the county if it ends at Wheeling Road and doesn't continue?
Joe?
That would be my only concern. I'm in favor of the project, even if it does end there and we don't continue it. But my concern would be that somebody would say, well, you can't do that. And we go all the way with the engineering and find out we can't.
We have not heard that objection, and we've had discussions both with the County Department of Transportation as well as our engineers. Peter, sure.
Alderman Ludwigson, the Camp McDonald Road sidewalk is going to start at Wheeling, and then it goes east to Wolf Road. So that's where it's going to start. I think you're muted.
I thought you said Wheeling Road. I'm sorry.
It is Wheeling Road.
Yep, it starts at Wheeling and it'll end at Wolf,
But
will be
there's no.
which
what
will
is it?
connect to the Wolf sidewalk that's going to be put in next year.
Okay. So, but there's nothing for it to connect to at Wheeling, right? And
Oh, you mean
that's okay?
to go west on Wheeling, to cross Wheeling Road and go to Camp McDonald? No, not at this time.
Right. I always thought that because they rejected that plan one time that we had about a crosswalk on Rand Road, they said there was no sidewalk for anything to go to. I just thought there might be an issue with like deadheading.
That does
sidewalk.
happen with guided crosswalks with traffic lights. I've dealt with that before, that they're reluctant to do that if there's no
Right.
sidewalk to connect to. But really that, I don't really see that concern with this project, because we're going from Wheeling to Wolf, and we're not stubbing out at a point where
Okay.
there's.
Okay.
Okay,
I
that was
think
all.
we'll be
Thanks.
okay.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Ludwigson,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Excuse me. Item 9B, staff memo and resolution authorizing a civil engineering services agreement with Walt Hamilton and Associates for Phase 1 preliminary engineering services for a sidewalk on Camp McDonald Road from Wheeling to Wolf Road for a cost not to exceed $139,818. This is on a related note. Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
No, this gets us started. This contract provides for the preliminary engineering services, and from that, it's a performance contract that we have with Cook County, so they'll reimburse us as we move farther along. But this gets us started, at least for preliminary engineering, which will essentially evaluate how this sidewalk could be built, the issues of swales, as well as I mentioned the railway crossing and so forth. There are some complications. And from there, everything goes right, then we'll move into the design engineering.
All right, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
We
Morgan
have a
Adams.
motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions on this item? There being none, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item 9C, staff memo and resolution approving bid and contract for the installation of a variable frequency drive for the city's water boost pump by Metropolitan Industries for a cost not to exceed $39,865. Director Roscoe or Joe, do you want to expand on this?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Mark. First of all, I want to apologize. This was lost in translation. It's not approving a bid, it is approving a contract. It's for a single source purchase. Metropolitan Pump is the provider of our equipment. There's compatibility issues, and there's also, it's a very limited market. So first of all, I apologize for mislabeling this on the agenda, but it's actually a contract. The pump itself is actually to regulate the water flow to prevent main breaks. I'll turn it over to Mr. Roscoe for the technical details, but I just wanted to clarify the issue and apologize for the mistake.
Thank you, Joe. As it states in the memo, our water system's kind of creative. Rob Roy started back in the 80s with a deep well, and when we went to Illinois American Water 16, 17 years ago, we took over that system and added to it. The pumping was designed 80s style. Here we are in 2022, and there's a lot of changes in technology. As our infrastructure ages, the technology of 40-something years ago isn't accurate for us anymore. This is a motor controller, basically. So when there's a large demand for water, it'll turn up slowly, like when you turn on the faucet at home. You don't hammer it on, you crank it up a little bit as you get what you need. The original system is all on. When we need that extra pump to kick in, it hammers the pipes. If you see a lot of things are going on in other communities in Illinois and Indiana and Michigan who've had a lot of water main issues, part of it is the technology change. This is something that we've been talking about for years. We talked about it last year and we held it out of the budget and we put it into this year's plan. Our original system handled about 650 units when Rob Roy was built, and now we're over 1,000. So there's a little bit more demand, and keeping it in shape is very important. So that's the basics on what we're doing here, Joe. Mr. Mayor, sorry.
All right, thank you, sir. Could I start with a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions for Joe or Director Roscoe? There being none, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 10, staff and elected official and commission reports. First, we have a September financial report presented by Finance Director Sherry Grafin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members, city council, and managers. At this point in the year, we are 42% in, and our revenues and expenses are pretty much right on target. The only significant thing you'll notice in the report is the property taxes, which to date we've had minimal receipts. According to the latest from Cook County, the bills are due out in sometime in November with a due date of December 31st. So we are anticipating receiving our money in January, February, our second installment of property taxes, which is good. We just got our invoices for our debt service due December 15th, so we may have a month to 6 weeks of that interfund transfer before it's able to be repaid. So we're hopeful. They also did announce to us we'll finally be getting our 21 tax levy extension somewhere between November 1st and the 11th. Typically, those come in the summer, like May, June, we should have seen those. So we're due to see what our final extension is for 21 in early November. We have 2 business days to approve it and turn it back around, so I don't anticipate any significant changes on there. So as far as the financials goes, that was the biggest thing that you'll see is we're showing no receipts pretty much for property taxes. I don't know if anybody has any questions about the financial report.
I just have one question. So with respect to the tourism revenues, are those revenues for 2022, were they paid for the prior years, or are they
Yes.
still being caught up?
Yes.
They are paid.
All the hotels are
Okay.
caught up, maybe 1 month behind due to timing, but we've
Okay.
collected everything from the past up to current.
Great. And with regard to the sewer fund, is that also true?
The sewer fund, we're still working on collections. We did have a discussion recently with the attorneys on what our next move could be for those folks that are still not paying. So we're putting those procedures together and will be presented to council for approval.
And what percentage are not paying, do you know?
I don't know. It's probably it's in the thousands. I mean, it's
Oh,
up
really?
there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's not a lot, probably 20, but some people didn't pay from the beginning of time. So
Wow.
that balance just keeps accumulating with late fees.
Okay,
So it's a handful, but it's long-term balances due,
okay.
who have just not responded at all. So,
Did we determine any kind of remedies that we're gonna pursue on that?
well, that's what we met with the attorneys for some suggestions and how we're gonna proceed. So that's what we're putting together now. We're talking amongst management to see what's our best bet for moving forward. So we'll
okay.
bring that back to council before we make any moves, just so everybody's aware.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Okay, so then I just had two more things.
Just a quick question for
Oh.
Yes, go ahead, Pat.
Sherry. That. Do we,
Uh-oh.
sorry, Mr. Mayor, that we're owed that money somehow or another, or is it just, there's no reason to show that we have this $20,000 outstanding?
I'm sorry, Pat, I really didn't understand what you were saying. It's a little garbled coming through.
The $20,000, do we have that anywhere in our financials showing that that's owed to us, or is it just purely we just know they haven't paid the bill, so we know we're out that much? Do we recognize that receivable?
Yes, that's part of
We
the
do?
receivable that we have on our balance sheet at this point.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple other things I wanted to mention.
Yes, go ahead.
Our annual audit is pretty much complete, down to their drafting the report. They were due to present the final to council next month. However, we're still missing some required disclosure information from third parties. So it looks like December is gonna be the day that they'll come and present the final report. We have filed extensions with the comptroller's office as well as GFOA, so those are filed and able to be submitted within the end of the year. So we have that period of time. Cook County being one of the ones that hasn't issued their tax extensions yet, so we're not alone in extending. It is prevalent. From talking to our auditors, they haven't issued one single audit report yet, except for fire district thus far. So pretty important information to include in the disclosures. So that'll be coming in December. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was our 2022 tax levy, which calculations of that number include a CPI percentage that is approved by the county. This year, their percentage compared to last year being 1.9, it was then 2.1, now it's 7.9. And it's the lower of 5% or the CPI that's given to us that we can levy. So we're looking at a minimum of 5%, which then throws us into the truth in taxation hearing, which we have not historically had. So we're planning to have one based on wanting to go over 5%, just to make sure that we capture all the increment. And in addition, our Palatine Road TIF terminated, so there's gonna be increment from that as well. So we will schedule one for November so that we can have that hearing and submit a tax levy that's in excess of the 5% for this year. Just wanted to give you the heads up on that. We'll be bringing the numbers to council next month to make sure that we get that all taken care of. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Director Grayson? Thank you very much for your report. Other elected officials reports, Alderman Ward 1, Michelle Cameron.
I have no report, but I just want to mention that last week I attended the NBAA in Orlando, and it was quite interesting. I really had a good experience, and I got a little bit more understanding of the aviation and where it's evolving to. So it was a good time, and I'm glad I went.
All right, thank you. Ward 2, Pat Lufkin.
I have no report, but I would like to thank the chief and the police department for doing a great job. You guys have done a great job. I saw you guys were out collecting this week on the streets for your charity, but I just want to thank you guys for what you do. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Ward 3, Wendy Morgan Adams.
The only report, I just wanted to say that I was pleased to see that there's a new revised bill for the Safety Act that's been submitted to the House, and it's incorporated many of the proposed changes and revisions that we submitted as well. So again, I know it's a lame duck session in the fall, but we're hoping that maybe we can get some of these revisions passed, and if not, or whatever we can get passed, it will be great, and whatever's left, we'll hopefully deal with in the spring session.
Thank you. Ward 4, Danielle Dash.
No report.
All right, thank you. I too am grateful to the airport board for the invitation that was extended to Alderman Cameron and myself to attend the convention last week. It was very informative, and it really helps us out since we do co-own the airport, and especially with members of my ward often have questions about things going on at the airport in the future. It's valuable to have that education, so I'm grateful for that opportunity. It was a great experience. City Treasurer Rich Tibbetts.
No report, Mayor.
And City Clerk Joanna Prushiesniuk.
Yes, I have some good news. I have been elected to the board of the Wheeling Chamber, Greater Wheeling Chamber. And so Prospect Heights now has a vote. That happened last week.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yay.
Yeah. So I further encourage everyone, when you meet our businesses, to mention the chamber. The lowest amount is $300 membership per year. They had the Taste of the Town last week, and it was met with great success. So they've really rebounded, and they're just doing a magnificent job. So I expect to get busier and busier as we approach the new year. That's it. That's my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. City Administrator Joe Wade,
No report, thank you.
Assistant Administrator Peter Falcone,
No report, Mr. Mayor.
and Finance Director Sherry Grafen. I believe you gave yours, but if you have anything else to share. Okay, thank you. Director of Building and Development, Mr. Peterson.
No report this evening, sir.
Thank you. Public Works Director Mark Roscoe.
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Police Chief Bill Caponegro, I'm hoping that you were getting caught up on your sleep. I know you were out late last night. We're grateful for everything that you were participating in. But if you have a report, please go ahead.
Sure. Can you all hear me? Because I can barely hear anybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Just a couple things, and obviously I'm at home. I slept in our bunks downstairs and left the station about 4:30, and so here I am. A couple things. As many of you may know, our full-time social worker she left. I believe she's looking for a different job, probably to make more money. I spoke with the president of Omni Youth Services. They have listed an ad. So far, there's no candidates. It's been running for about 4 days. So I hope we can get our full-time social worker in place within a few weeks. If not through Omni, city council members and mayor and Joe Wade, we may have to talk about hiring a full-time social worker directly from the city. There's many benefits to that, and if we have to, we'll get into that, but I still have hopes that we might possibly get one from Omni. Secondly, our recruits are making progress through the training. In approximately 4 to 6 weeks, we should have 3 more full-timers working on their own, and that will greatly help us with our manpower. And then lastly, just in case anybody doesn't know, we have had a subject who is I'll say rival gang member, because the few gang members that we have are a rival to this one individual I'm speaking of. And in the last year, this person, he's been a suspect to 4 shootings, 1 in our town, maybe 5, 2 in Mount Prospect, 1 just last week, 2 in Wheeling, an armed robbery in our town, a sex assault in our town, fleeing and looting in our town, fleeing and looting in Buffalo Grove, fleeing and looting in Arlington Heights. So, needless to say, we needed to get this guy. And I got information on where he just recently moved, and we put a task force together. Myself, Deputy Chief Milo, Sergeant Pouffant, and Detective Keith O'Connor, we came up with a plan, and we got help from 3 officers from Wheeling, 3 from Mount Prospect, and 1 Illinois Department of Corrections officer. And we did some surveillance out in unincorporated Des Plaines, and about after 3 hours, he came home, and a foot chase ensued. It's good that we had enough people. We had the perimeter surrounded really well, and we got him. We got him with a loaded pistol, and that's a good arrest, and it's a really great job that a bad guy's off the street for many, many years, based on him being in possession with a weapon by a felon and the pending charges that are coming his way. So thank you to those agencies that helped us. And you all should feel safer because this is one bad guy that's off the street. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir, and thank you to you and your staff. We can all sleep a little bit better now, so thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Clerk Schultheis,
No report, Mayor.
City Attorney John Driscoll,
No report, Mayor.
and Digital Communications Technician Mr. Colvin.
No report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. That brings us to discussion topics for the November workshop meeting. We still have on there the review of the city liquor licenses, and I know Alderman Ludvigson has been working on this, so he's going to present to us at the next meeting. So I don't think there's anything else that's going to be added at this time, but we will discuss that at the November meeting. Which brings us to the approval of warrants. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. The total for the warrants amounted to $426,073.76. We had a wire payment on October 7th, 2022 in the amount of $167,990.24. In the September Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, that amounted to $22,429.28, bringing total warrant amount to $616,493.28, for council's approval.
Could I have a motion to approve as presented?
So, go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections? There being none, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Morgan Adams,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Ludvigson.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 13, public comments on non-agenda matters. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered, or does anyone wish to speak?
I don't have any registrations, thank you.
All right, thank you. There is no executive session this evening, so that brings us to adjournment. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.